I would like to introduce to some of you who may not know these artists, introduce them to you to see if you can add them to your collection of artists if, like me, you love music. So moving right along, let me first of all give you my criteria that makes these artists my top artists. They have to embody word, sound, power. Someone who takes their artistry and uses it in a positive and beneficial way for humankind, right? I don't sing, but I write. So to me, for someone who writes and who creates poetry, having someone turn that poetry into powerful music is a wonderful thing. Next criteria would be that their music has to be timeless. It's not a fad. It's not music that is part of a fashion that is just there for the moment and then it's gone. The women that I'm going to state have timeless music that I've been listening to. Some of them I discovered them from my early years, my teenage years, right? And now I'm in my 50s, I can still listen to their music from back in the days to now, and that music is still relevant. Next, the music has to be positive. You know, it's something, music for me is something that I use to maintain my mental health, and I think that music overall for people should be able to do that. It should take us to a point of developing our humanity, and in doing so it has to be positive music. And the next and final criteria for these artists is that they just have beautiful voices, right? Like, I can't sing, as you saw from the intro. I'm pretty okay at lip syncing, but I can't sing. I can create words that can be turned into beautiful songs, but it takes a true artist to really sing and bring out the power of those words. My first topper artist is Angelique Kidjo. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name properly, and if I'm not, Miss Kidjo, forgive. But Angelique Kidjo is an African artist. Specifically, she's from Benin. She reminds me a lot of Grace Jones. Very Afric-centric, very powerful, very African-centered imagery in her videos. She's got a beautiful voice. She comes from a culture which promotes a lot of African spirituality and what is called ancestor worship, which I would define as being ancestor acknowledgement, and that is the kind of foundation which she has come from, and that is promoted a lot in her music. The next artist who is part of my topper female artist is a woman who was around in the 1960s, 1970s. She's an African American artist from the civil rights era, Mahalia Jackson. She's part of that African American gospel, African American spiritual soul, genre. She is from that old school church, that old school or old time religion, right? She has a very angelic voice, very strong, very powerful voice, and obviously she's taken you to church. Her music it's spiritual. It's just a very spiritual music. It's like she just takes you to a place where where no matter what is on your mind, no matter how heavy your heart is, how badly things are going in your life, she takes you to a place where you feel as if you can just lay your burdens down in a very human form. Like, her voice could be the actual middle person between you and your God. The next artist who makes my topper female artist list is none other than Tina Marie. Now I know I'm aging myself because I'm a child of the 60s, right? So I came of age in my teenage years, would have been like in the 80s, right? So I know that I remember specifically when I was in high school when one of Tina Marie's tunes first dropped, and one of my friends, Kay, her name was Kay. Haven't seen her from high school days. So Kay, if you ever come across this video, I'm talking about you. You should know who you are. That I think Kay, it was either a tape or it was a CD. I'm not sure if CDs were out then, because that would have been like early 80s. Tina Marie's album came out. Played at every lunchtime. She got a beautiful voice, and one of the things that they said about Tina Marie is that when she first came out, because she's non-black, but she has a very black sounding voice, that they had to kind of disguise who she was before they introduced her to a black audience so that she would not be rejected, which I thought was, very interesting. Also, if you know, back in the days in the 80s, Rick James, I know I'm dating myself, but some of you're part of my generation. I know it is what it is. She also sang Fire and Desire with Rick James, and they had a few duets together. They collaborated in their songs together. Yeah, so if you're not familiar with her, Google her name, listen to her music, and you'll see why she's one of my top of artists. Another artist that makes my top is Chardy. Who doesn't like Chardy? Chardy is, to me, like the female Luther Vandross. Had a solid band behind her. Very sultry, distinct voice. I believe she's first generation British born. She's mixed race, so I don't know if she defines herself as being black or ever defined herself as being black British. And she's another one that I don't think gets her props. Like, Chardy was doing her thing from back in the days. Chardy has always been consistent. She's always given us quality music. So if you don't know who she is, you want to discover her, Chardy. And if you haven't listened to her in a while, go back and listen to Chardy. Very good for your mental health, especially when you're in love or falling out of love. She'll get you in your feelings very quickly, The next two artists come from a genre called lovers rock. Sylvia and Carol Thompson. I'm mentioning those two because they have had a large impact upon my teenage and young adult years. Okay? They are part, as I said, that homegrown British music, black British music. So there's a definite heritage and a definite history behind that, which is very important not to forget, because they embody a specific time and a place and a reality for a lot of people my age who are first generation black British, who are the offspring of the Windrush generation. And if you haven't seen my videos on the Windrush, please watch them. If you haven't heard that story where I pierced my nose, I did a video called Nosejob, and I pierced my nose when I was about 14, for style and fashion. Sylvia and Carol Thompson was some of the albums that I was listening to in the hours that it took me to pierce my nose. But in addition to that, they also are part of homegrown Black British history, homegrown Black British culture. Another artist I would like to mention, and this is going to end my list of female artists, is Sister Carol. This artist, Sister Carol, is a female reggae dancehall artist. Now, Sister Carol sings, but most importantly, Sister Carol is one of the few reggae artists that can ride a rhythm. So in other words, she can toast, right? If you know anything about the dancehall scene, reggae music, you don't see too many women, or back then, right? That's a very male dominated era, especially when it comes to toasting and knowing how to ride the rhythm. So I will put Sister Carol up there as being one of my topper female artists. She's very consistent. She comes to you in the name of Rastafari. She comes to you in the name of all that is one love and positive. She's very consistent in terms of upholding Jamaican and African culture. I do rate Sister Carol. You have to have a certain amount of strength or stamina or confidence, right, to be able to have stepped into that dancehall scene as a female back in the 70s and the 80s, and not only just step into it, but to be recognized and to be respected. So there you have it. These are who I am defining as my topper female artists. I love music. Music is one of the things, like I've said to you in my mental health videos, music is one of the things that grounds me and that helps me stay balanced in terms of my mental health. And these are a few of the female artists that do that for me. Who do you listen to, especially the females among all the genres? What criteria do you define in terms of listening to these artists, if you define any criteria at all? Well, I thank you for sharing your time with me. I hope that my hindsight has and will inspire you, and that you will find your own way